you want to know how to exercise for hiking, then this video is for you, because here's what you can expect to learn. We're going to cover the two components of training for hiking. Then we'll discuss the most important factor when it comes to training for hiking. And I do say factor, not exercise, because exercise is important, but it's not the most important. If you want to know what is the most important, stick around. And finally, at the end, I'll give you a sample program. If you don't want to miss any more videos that I publish just like this, just click like and subscribe to my channel, and you'll be notified when I publish additional videos just like this and about other aspects of exercise and nutrition. Now, a little bit about me. My name is Igor. I am the author of so far 13 books on exercise and nutrition, including 4 Amazon bestsellers. As well, I've been a personal trainer since 2006, and I've done a number of presentations at various different personal training conferences since 2013, training other personal trainers in my methodology. As well, I've done over 400 presentations to some of Canada's largest corporations, including IBM, Bosch, American Express, University of Toronto, Investors Group, and others. So let's jump in. What are the two components of training for hiking? They're quite simple. They are component 1, strength, especially lower body strength. Hiking is largely a lower body exercise. Now, a lot of people will say, yes, it takes a lot of core strength. Well, that's a myth. No, it doesn't. There is an article I wrote about core strength myths that is linked in the description below. But lower body strength is the most important. And the two most important exercises that you want to do when it comes to hiking are the same exercises that target the muscles that you work in hiking. That's largely the quadriceps, the glutes, and hamstrings. And so though you want movements that mimic the actual movements you do in nature, and they are lunges and step-ups. The key to making step-ups work is to have a step that is high enough. How high is high enough? The step should be that when you're at the top of the step, when your foot is on there, your knee should be about 2 or 3 inches above your hip. So this is a good step up. The step ups they use in aerobics classes are fine for endurance, but not for strength. So the key is getting a high enough step, and that largely depends on your own height and your own limb length. And again, these are the two most important exercises when it comes to developing lower body strength for hiking. The second component of training for hiking is endurance or cardio. And a lot of people will often ask, does the machine matter? When it comes to other health issues like heart health, diabetes, high blood pressure, and so on, the answer is no. The machine itself doesn't matter. It's everything else that matters. The pulse, the frequency, the duration, and so on. When it comes to hiking, the machine does matter. There is a principle called specificity, which means you get good at what you do specifically. For example, Lance Armstrong was an excellent cyclist, maybe the best of all time, regardless of his drug use. However, he wasn't very good at marathon running, and he came in with a time of 3 hours. Very good time, but not a world-class time. And that's because he was used to cycling and not so much to running marathons. Same thing here. If you want to get good, if you want to have good endurance for hiking, you have to train similar to how you hike. And so the best piece of equipment for that is a treadmill with an incline feature, because you will be using that on an incline especially. And so what is the most important factor when it comes to training for hiking? And the single most important factor is progression. You can't stay at the same workout forever and ever. You can't stay at the same speed or duration, etc. You have to progress. And there are different ways to progress. In strength training, there are 8 or 9 different ways, but the 3 most common ones would be to add a repetition, to add a set. Okay, so instead of doing 2 sets, you do 3 sets, or to add weight. My preference is to combine 2 out of 3. So for example, if your goal is to get stronger, you might set yourself a range. I want to do 15 to 20 repetitions. And so workout 1, you might do 15, then 16, workout 2, workout 3, 17, and so on up to 20. Once you reach 20, you don't do 21, rather you raise the weight and lower the repetitions back down to 15 and work your way up to 20, again, with a higher weight. And that is called double progression. You progress in reps and you progress in weight. And so that's my preference in terms of strength training. In terms of endurance or cardio, you also have a few different ways of progressing. One is to add duration. In other words, if you did 20 minutes once, the next time try 21 minutes. You can add speed. If your habitual walking speed is 3.5 miles per hour, try 3.6. And the next time after that, 3.7 and 3.8, and so on and so on and so on. And maybe you don't even do it every workout. Maybe you do it every other workout or every third workout. But you have to figure out a way to make it slightly more challenging the next time around. And the third way to make endurance more challenging to progress it is to add an incline. This obviously applies to treadmills. There's no incline in swimming, there's no incline in rowing, and so on, but this is largely treadmill focused. And incline is adding an incline and duration are my preferences when it comes to hiking. There's only so much speed you can add before you switch from walking to running. And so you should maximize that, but then you kind of plateau that and you play around with duration and incline. And so how do you put all of this together? You should do strength training, you should do cardio or endurance training, but what does that look like? How many days per week, at what intensity, how much weight, what's the pulse, etc. So that's what we're going to cover in this section. So here's an example. Your strength training, you might do that about 2 times per week, ideally 2 days apart. So Monday and Thursday, Monday and Friday, Tuesday and Friday, Tuesday and Saturday, something like that. The exercises you do would be about 2 to 3 sets, and you would do between 12 and 20 repetitions. There are benefits to higher repetitions. There are benefits to lower repetitions. But when it comes to hiking, middle to high repetitions are the way to go because the goal is not to develop super strength. The goal is to develop endurance for hiking, not endurance in general, but endurance for hiking. And if you're wondering how much weight should I use, I don't like giving a specific number. Why? Because it's different person to person. Furthermore, it's different muscle group to muscle group. But here is your guiding light. Here's your North Star. You want to use a weight that allows you to only have 2 to 4 repetitions in reserve when you finish. So for example, let's say you're doing biceps curls with 15 pounds per side, and you're doing 15 repetitions. At the end of the 15th repetition, you should ask yourself, how many more could I have done? You should think to yourself, I could have probably only done maybe 2, 3, or 4 more. If you think to yourself, I could have done 5 more, the weight is too light. If you think to yourself, I couldn't have done any more, the weight is too heavy. And so, again, I can't emphasize enough how important it is to use a challenging weight. Most people sell themselves short when it comes to the appropriate weight. So hopefully you don't do that. That is the strength training side of things. As for the endurance or cardio side of things, you want to do 2 to 4 times per week and alternate steady state and intervals. Okay, what does steady state mean? Steady state can mean one of 2 things, either a steady speed or a steady pulse. If you keep the speed steady throughout the duration of the workout, what will happen is your pulse will rise. However, if you keep your pulse steady, the speed will drop as you get more tired. And both of them are fine, and you can choose which one you want to use. So with steady state, you want to do that at 20 to 60 minutes at the highest incline that you can. Set the speed to whatever is your natural walking speed during hiking, but play around with the incline. As for the intensity, in cardio, we measure intensity by pulse. And so your pulse should be above 65% of your HR max or maximal heart rate. And if you're wondering, what's my maximal heart rate? That is 220 minus your age. So if hypothetically you, the viewer, are 50 years old, you would subtract 50 from 220 to get 170. And you multiply 170 by 0.65 to get 65% of your maximal heart rate. And if you're going to do intervals, you want to do between 5 to 15 intervals per session. However, unlike most interval training for heart health or diabetes, etc., when it comes to training for hiking, you need specificity. So you would keep the speed constant and change the incline. So if you are using the speed of 3.5 miles per hour, you would do that, okay, on a flat surface. Then you raise the incline to your highest tolerable incline that you can maintain for 1 or 2 minutes. And then after that duration, you would lower the incline back to 0. So speed stays same, incline changes, okay? In addition to that, you also want to have a pulse of above 85% of your maximal heart rate at the end. Once your interval is complete, as I mentioned, bring your incline down to 0. And if you're wondering, for how long should I do easy work between my work intervals? It's until your pulse drops down to 65% of your maximal heart rate. I prefer giving recommendations based on pulse as opposed to time. Time is arbitrary. Pulse is specific to you on any given day. If I said rest 1 minute between intervals, that might be just the right amount at the beginning of your workout and too little towards the end of your workout. It might be too much for some people who are extremely fit and not enough for people who are less fit. But if you go by pulse, you can't go wrong because everything is specific to you on that day, on that interval. And that is how you exercise for hiking. Now, if you want to learn more about how to exercise for muscle growth, as well as, because we covered the lower body, but if you want to learn about the upper body and more, there is a video that you should watch right now, right after this one, called The Key Muscle Building Factors, which is about the 2 most important factors for muscle growth. And if you want to know what those 2 factors are, check out that video in the description below.